Today we are going to talk about one way that you can protect your new plants and old plants from new insects. Insects are part of the growing experience. Whether you grow outdoors or indoors, eventually you will have to deal with insects. No matter how cautious you are, something will eventually get in. There are many ways that insects can get into your houseplants, but that is a subject for another video, another day. One of the many ways that we can introduce new insects into our houseplants is from purchasing new plants. And this is specifically what I will be talking about today. Spring is just around the corner, and some of you are starting to think about going to an African violet show, convention, or sale, or even buying online. And before doing so, there are things that you need to know. Whether you already have a collection of your own or you will be buying plants for the first time, there are some steps that you can take to help protect your new or old plants from new insects. There are many individual insect species on our planet, and most of them we can see with the naked eye. Unfortunately, the ones that are attracted by African violets are for the most part microscopic, and we cannot see them with our naked eye. Because of this, it is very common to bring in new pests with new plants. Most of the time when new plants have little buggers on them, you will not be able to see them. And if the plant is being sold somewhere, it will most likely look very healthy even if it has a little bug community living in it. We have a tendency to think that if a plant looks healthy and you can't actually see little buggers moving on it, it means that it has no insects. Unfortunately, that is a myth, and I will explain why. For this explanation, I will be referring to the microscopic buggers because, of course, if you can see the insects, you know they're there. The microscopic ones, you can't see them. When little insects land on a plant, they start feeding, and at that point, the plant will not show any signs of damage and will not show any signs for some time. Of course, if we're dealing with large insects, you may see some holes or actual chewing or sometimes some dropping. But unfortunately, when dealing with the microscopic insects, we very rarely see those damages. Every plant has some sort of immune system that protects them from these little insects. So if a plant has just a few little buggers feeding off of it, there won't be a problem. The plant will be able to withstand this damage and get through it. It is only when the insect population develops into large numbers that the plant will weaken and starts showing signs of distress. This is usually the time when people start looking at their plants and start thinking, something doesn't look right. And for the most part, these people usually think that the insect just arrived and got into the plants, when in reality, it was probably there for a long time, just going unnoticed, doing its thing, feeding, laying eggs, which in turn grow up, become mature adults, and start laying eggs also. And so on, which results in a population explosion. Now, and only now, will you start noticing the plant is showing signs of distress. When the population becomes large enough that the plant can't take it anymore. It's like, dude, this is not going well. It gets tired, it gets weakened, there's too many insects feeding at the same time, and the plant's like, I give up. So now that I have made all of you terrified to get new plants, I will also say that not all plants arrive with buggers. Most plants will actually arrive without insects. But whether insects are present or not, you will most likely not be able to tell the difference. And nor would I, by the way. This is not an expert versus newcomer thing. If the buggers are microscopic and the plant looks in great health, unless we get in there with a microscope and start looking for bug activity, you will not be able to know. The most common insects that attack African violets are mites and thrips. To be more precise, it's the cyclamen mite, the broad mite, and thrips. Thrips are not microscopic, but they're very tiny, and usually people will have them for some time without realizing that they're there. So I'm including them in this explanation. I will now tell you of an easy way to treat your new and old plants, which will protect them from these little buggers and clear them from any infestation that may be already living in the plant. This method is one of many. The one that I am proposing is just one of many that is very effective and inexpensive to do. The product that I will be suggesting today is Diatomaceous earth. It's hard to say. I found it in a bag format, and I also found it in a little plastic container format. Diatomaceous earth comes from fossilized remains of diatoms, which are ground up into a very fine powder. For us, this is just powder and totally harmless, but if we look at it under a microscope, what we would see is a ton of little very sharp particles. And the way the powder works is when the little insect crawls through the powder, the little sharp particles cut through the insect's body, which causes a lot of damage, and then the insect will die. The great benefit of diatomaceous earth is, contrary to all chemical and natural products, this product does not disintegrate. All chemical products, whether it be a contact spray, which means the spray has to contact the insect to kill the insect, or a systemic spray, which means you spray the plant becomes poisonous, and when the insect chews on the plant, it gets poisoned, or natural products like oils and other natural things that we spray on the plants have a short time life, which means that as soon as they are sprayed onto the plants, the products start disintegrating. Some will last for many days and some will last for a few weeks, but in the end, they all disintegrate. This stuff will remain active as long as it's there. You can almost consider diatomaceous earth like a personal guard dog for each plant, just waiting for the culprits to arrive, but a guard dog that you don't have to feed every day. And as long as the powder is in place, it will be harmful to all insects that crawl through it. This product is very inexpensive, very easy to find. You can find it at any Walmart, hardware store, nurseries, and of course online. Just make sure you buy the food grade, because there is a product, the same product that is made for pool filters, and that is not the right one to use on your plants. To apply the product, you will also need a little makeup brush to brush it on, and a breathing mask. Although this is not a harmful chemical product for us, it is a very fine powder, and it is not good to breathe it in. So make sure you have a breathing mask. Now, how to apply this stuff? Very easy. Now, how to apply the little powder. First of all, we're going to try not to hit the top of the leaves, just because it's going to make the plant look dirty or dusty. We only want to gently brush some on the bottom part of the plant. So we're going to hide it below. You want to make sure to hit the base of the central stem all around the plant, and all those little nook and crannies between the leaf stems and the central stem, because this is where the cyclamen mites will hide if they are present. These little buggers really hate the light, so they hide in the darkness in those little nooks and crannies. I am also going to put a little bit of powder on the soil all around the central stem. The reason I'm doing this is because many insects actually go to the soil at one point or another during their life cycle. And the only way back up the plant is by crawling up the central stem. So if there's DE on the central stem, those little insects will never make it up. In this video, I just vaguely touched the subject of insects, but don't worry. I'm presently working on a whole series of videos that will cover all of the insects that are common to find in the African violet culture. In those videos, I will talk about the individual insect life cycles, what type of damage they do, what are the signs of infestation, and also how to get rid of them. This video was mainly to give you a little idea of something you can do with your new plants to avoid bringing in new insects to contaminate your existing collection. One thing that I forgot to mention during the video is that it is always wise to isolate any new plants for many weeks before introducing it or them to your existing collection. If by mischance your new plant would happen to have an insect problem, this will avoid the spread of the insect to all of your plants. It's always much easier to treat one plant versus many. So this will take care of the 3 most common insects that we find in African violets: cyclamen mites, brood mites, and thrips. As the insects move around, because insects do move around, Eventually they will crawl through the powder and game over. The diatomaceous earth will not protect your plants from any fungus or mold spores that may have traveled in with your new plants. So make sure you have some Lysol on hand. Lysol is really good to stop fungus and mold spores from spreading and super easy to apply. Just spray some over the plants, not on the plants. You spray it over the plants and the cloud will go down onto the plants once a week for a few weeks. I won't go any further on the fungus and mold subject because that will be a subject for a future video. So before buying all of your new plants for this year, no matter where you get them from, be prepared. Growing plants is a lot of fun, very rewarding and therapeutic at the same time. But when insects come along and screw it all up, this can cause frustration, sadness, and even in some cases, depression. Because when somebody is already going through a tough time and the plants are sick too, that becomes very, very difficult to deal with. So be prepared, treat them all as they were totally infested. This will keep them safe, and then enjoy the beautiful results. That was my little tip for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this will help, and I wish you all a super duper wonderful day. Bye!